Still I can't let go.
These last 30 days,
These last 3 days, I hope you heard it.
we have spent
Come on.
learning the Word of God.
In case you guys are wondering, that was my wife. Well, guys, you've made it to the end. Proverbs 31, the 31-day challenge. Oh my goodness gracious. Listen, I am so proud of you. And I don't care how long it took you. I don't care if it took you 40 days. I don't care if it took you 50, 60. It could have taken you 90. You are here. I'm proud of you. Job well done. And here's the deal. We have a lot to talk about. This is probably going to be the longest one. Not probably. It will be. All right. But it's very clear that today's passage is highly focused on women. But fellas, don't tune out. This is for everybody. All right. So let's dive in. We're going to unpack this together. And let me say this. I think it's pretty incredible that the book of Proverbs ends on women. This chapter really just emphasizes and highlights the role that a woman plays in the lives of others and just how they impact the family nucleus in two dynamics, a relational dynamic of a child and a relational dynamic of a spouse. And so I'm just excited to dive into this one. And depending on what your version says at the beginning of Proverbs 31, it might say the sayings of King Lemuel. And that's correct. When you pull up the Tree of Life version, it actually says a mother's warning. So Lemuel may have written this, but he's really sharing what his mother taught him. So we're going to go into verse 2, and I'm actually going to pretty much touch almost every single verse today. So verse 2, O my son, son of my womb, O son of my vows, do not give your vigor to women, or your ways to what ruins kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, or for rulers to crave strong drink, lest they drink, forget what is decreed, and pervert justice for all the oppressed. Remember, Lemuel is a king, which means that he has influence here. And essentially what his mom is saying is don't overconsume alcohol, because if you do, that you're not going to be in a position of sober-minded thinking. We've talked about this a little bit before, but so I won't spend too much time here. But also remember that because Lemuel is a king and he has influence, as a person of influence, we need to be able to serve others with sober-minded thinking. In this case, alcohol is the quickest substance that can skew our view and decision-making when it comes to serving others. And we can go even bigger picture. It's not just alcohol, but anything that you overconsume will rob you or rob us of good judgment. So a question of the day is, as a person of influence, what are you overconsuming that's robbing you of good judgment? It could be the music you're listening to. What are you watching? It could also be the news and the politics. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's someone that you're hanging with. Anything or anyone that we're overconsumed with robs us of good decision making. And as people of influence, we got to be mindful of that. Let's look at the rest of the sayings of King Lemuel. Verse 8, open your mouth on behalf of those who are unable to speak, for the justice of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, plead the cause of the poor and the needy. And so really what his mom is saying is be the mouthpiece others can't be for themselves. Bring justice to those who are extremely poor, meaning they lack money, maybe they lack possessions or resources or even relationships. And 2 times in those 2 verses, it says, open your mouth. Be a person who judges well. And notice what the text tells us what to fight for. It's saying to fight for the poor, the needy, meaning do we fight for people who can't fight or do for themselves? Let me say it like this. We got to fight the right fight, guys. There are many people out there who are fighting, but are we fighting the right fight? Are we focusing on the right causes, even more so the things that the scripture talks about? So Proverbs 31, 1-9 may be known as the sayings of King Lemuel, but he has those sayings because of what his mom spoke into him and over him. Here's another way of saying it. His life was blessed and enhanced by a woman. So that's actually the context of Proverbs 31. So we've talked about the relational dynamic of a mom to a child. Now we're going to go into the next dynamic of a woman to a husband. So we're going to go here to verse 10. And here's the thing I really want you guys to hear when we start talking about, like dating, all right? So guys, let's keep it real. We love to hear the talk. I'm like, oh man, is she a Proverbs 31 woman? Right? Like when we start hearing about dating and he started seeing this person, like, yeah, man, is she a Proverbs 31 woman? Or we even like to use that too. We like to go I'm looking for that Proverbs 31 woman. But what does that look like? Here's what a Proverbs 31 woman means. We're going to get into that breakdown right now. Verse 10 says this, an accomplished woman who can find. The New Living Translation says it like this: who can find a virtuous and capable wife? Her value is far beyond rubies. Her husband's heart trusts in her, and he lacks nothing valuable. She brings him good and not harm all the days of her life. So a husband can trust in his wife. He lacks nothing because of his wife and receives good and no harm. Look at verse 13. She selects wool and flax, and her hands work willingly. Verse 14, she is like merchant ships bringing her sustenance from afar. She rises while it is still night and provides food for her household and portions for her servant girls. So let me pause and just come out of this for a little bit. Jimmy and I have gotten to do quite a bit of premarital counseling and marital counseling. And one of the things we talk about with couples every time, we talk about what's known as household duties. And the bottom line is this: it's seasonal. All right? It's seasonal. The first 2 years of our marriage, when I was active duty and she wasn't working, she took care of primary of the needs of the house. So whether it was cooking and cleaning, not saying I didn't help out at all, obviously, because I wanted to be a contributor to that. But years 3 through 7 of our marriage, she went full time. There was only about a 6-month window where we were both full time at the same time, because I got accepted to the chaplain candidate program, which had me go from active duty to the reserves. And then I was part-time at the same church we were working with, and I was a full-time student. So all that being said, even though I was working equivalent full-time hours, I had more flexibility on my side. So years 3 through 7, I became more so the person who would cook most in the household or clean. Same thing, not saying that she didn't do it during those years, but I did it primary. Matter of fact, I remember the first couple months when I was still active duty and she was working full-time, because my hours were 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., maybe 4 is when I would get home the latest. And Juby, worked the typical 9 to 5. So sometimes she wouldn't get off till 5:15, 5:30. She would get home closer to 6. That's about an hour and a half, sometimes almost 2 hours in which she's not there. So I remember I just took, the reins, and I was like, let me just cook. So that way when she gets here, we can just enjoy our time together. And I'll never forget, I think it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks after. And she came back and she was like, she felt bad because she felt like she was being a bad wife. I said that to say, year 3 was different from years 1 and 2. So the seasons changes that dynamic. Really, my point is, you as a married couple have to discern what that looks like. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just knowing and navigating the seasons of it. In the last few years, it's flip-flopped back. So the seasons change that. I just wanted to say that. Verse 16, she considers a field and buys it. From the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and invigorates her arms. She discerns that her business is good and her lamp never goes out at night. So there are a few things here. The text is illustrating that a woman has the capacity to go into business. And you got to know, at this time, it's a pretty big deal because it's not common or popular for women to own land or major property in ancient biblical times. It was a society that was strictly patriarchal, and they had the economic power would flow through male lineage. Wives, that you can purchase property is a big deal. It's saying you're allowed to be business-minded. And more than anything, it's really saying that a wife is trusted enough to make decisions on behalf of their family that will bring a form of sustenance and fruit to everyone. That wives are their future thinkers. When it says things such as, from the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard, it means she's a hard worker. She discerns that her business is good, meaning that women have great natural discernment. I mean, you heard me say this before, where a pastor said, hey, guys, listen to the voice of the Lord, follow it, and oftentimes it shows up in the voice of your spouse. That's so true. So what does it look like for us to listen to the wives in our lives? Look at verse 19. It says, she extends her hands to the spindle and her palm grasps the spinning wheel. Verse 20, she spreads out her palms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. She's not afraid of snow for her house, for her whole household is clothed in scarlet wool. She makes her own luxurious coverings. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Verse 23, her husband is respected at the city gates. That's huge. It's essentially really just saying like her husband is well known where it is that he goes because of the home that she's created for him. Verse 24, she makes linen garments and sells them and supplies sashes to the merchants. There is a lot there. So let's unpack it. When it says that she spreads out her palms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy, it's saying that she serves the less fortunate. She has a kind heart towards those who can't do for themselves. The New Living Translation in verse 21 says, She has no fear of winter for her household, for everyone has warm clothes. And it really just goes on to talk about how she has great bedspreads and she wears fine linen. Here's the takeaway. A wife has the gifts of hospitality. They're welcoming of not just others, but they create a home to their husband, as well as anyone else who wants to be a part of it. Let's go to verse 25. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the days to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. A lesson of kindness is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. So this woman holds strength, dignity, particularly in the way that she dresses and carries herself. When she speaks, she has wisdom. She's kind with her words. She's also the manager of her house. We would say the modern day version is she's the CEO of the crib. And I don't know about you, but if you've noticed, as we've been talking about a woman, it's a specific type of woman. What the chapter has been describing since verse 10 is this describing a wife. I'll let you sit with that. It's describing a wife. The text is not describing a boo, not describing a girlfriend or a situationship. It's a wife. And your version at the top may say, when you go into verse 10, it might say something like a woman of valor, or a description of a worthy woman, or the woman who fears the Lord. Regardless of what it says at the top, it's referencing to a wife. How do we know that? Because all throughout the rest of the text, it keeps referring to the other person as her husband. Why am I emphasizing this? Let me talk to my single folks for a little bit, all right? So I'm talking to the men who are dating and the women who are dating. Just because you're dating, single meaning you're not married, all right? So let me talk to the single folks for a little bit. If you are dating right now and you have the aspirations of wanting to get married, let me talk to the men. Are you putting an unrealistic expectation on your girlfriend? You want her to purchase a business for you, you want her to manage your belongings or your finances or work hard for you, but you ain't even put a ring on it. Like, you want the benefits of a wife without giving her the title of one? That's not how this works. Again, you can have the expectation, men, as you should, to desire to what it looks for, what we talked about in a future wife. And don't participate in things or pressure her to do things in which you guys don't even have a covenant in yet. And I talked a lot about this already back on days 5 through 6 or Proverbs 5 through 7. So you can go back and listen to that. I'm pretty sure it's around there, 5, 6, or 7, around there. Now let me give a challenge and encouragement to the ladies. And don't worry, I'm going to finish because I'm going to come back around to the men. But let me just start with the ladies, specifically the wives. Wives, with everything we've talked about today, I just want to ask, are you these things? Are you a future thinker? Are you a person of strength and dignity? Do you speak with wisdom and kindness? Are you hospitable? Are you known as a hard worker? Do you make your house a home? If we were to ask your husband, what would he say? And again, I'm coming for the guys, just hang with me. Right now, I just want to challenge, and matter of fact, don't do this introspectively, ask the Holy Spirit. What would the Holy Spirit say right now on that? And ladies, meaning you're not married, but you desire it, ladies, are you striving for these things? Are you working on these things right now? Are you working and growing to be a future thinker, a person of strength and dignity? Do you speak with wisdom and kindness? Are you hospitable? Are you a hard worker? Do you have a desire to want to make your house a home? Would any person look at you and say that these are things about you? And if not, I would strongly caution against you getting married anytime soon. Now, let me talk to the men. It's so easy to desire certain traits and aspects in a woman, guys, and not just a woman, but in a wife specifically. But let me talk to the husbands. Husbands, what are you doing to show you're worthy of following and a woman doing of all that? Like, how are you, husbands, doing in leading her, protecting her, and providing for her? And providing is not just finances. It's not just putting a roof over her head and food on the table. That's the bare minimum, all right? Like that's easy, light work, fellas. I'm talking about, do you provide her with safety? Do you provide her by being a safe place for her to fall apart? Do you provide for her mentally, spiritually, emotionally? Do you provide her with love? When you read through Ephesians 5, it's interesting. The purpose of a husband is actually not to respect a wife. A wife is called to respect a husband. But the purpose of a husband is to love his wife. Specifically in Ephesians 5. When you read through Ephesians 5, the last verse, it says, a wife is called to respect the husband, and the husband is called to love the wife. Specifically, like Christ loves the church. Meaning, the woman should feel so much love through you, husband, through you, man of God. She should literally feel the love of Christ through you. How are you doing in that? It's just a reminder that our lives are better because of women. And so something I was thinking of when I was putting this together is I was thinking about my mom. And my mom growing up was the best listener that I knew, and still is to this day. She's an incredible listener. She's someone that she just knows how to sit with you. She knows how to listen to you. She knows how to ask questions. And not only that, she would always point me back to God. She would always go, and sometimes she would share a personal story with me, whatever thing I was struggling in, and she would share something with me that connect with me and let me know, like, hey, I hear you, son. Like, I've been there. Here's what happened with me. But then she'd point me back to God. And it's interesting when I look back over my own life, especially ever since I've really stepped into my adulthood, when I think through my college years, my young adult years, in my 20s, and even right now, I've been told that I'm a really good listener. I'm not saying this from a braggadocious standpoint. I'm at a point in my life where I know what I am, and where I know I'm gifted in, when I'm not. And I've learned to own my gift of being a good listener. What I didn't know is before I stepped into serving as a pastor and now even being a chaplain, I had no idea, because it was not on my bingo card in life to be either. But little did I know, I would need that later on down the line. And I've been told throughout the second half of my life that I'm a good listener and I sit with people well. I learned that from my mom. I learned that by just not realizing it at the time, but I have been at the benefit of that because of what she did for me. And then I think about my own wife. Like, she's backed me up and supported me in everything I do, like to include this podcast. I remember when I launched this 5.5 years ago, and I'm like, babe, I'm gonna remove it. Like, I had uploaded some episodes, didn't tell anybody, and she was like, no, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am. And of course, kept it up. And at the time, I was flipping shoes to get some gear just to kind of get it going. And my wife saw my consistency, and by consistency, I was only doing it like 8 or 10 episodes. This girl, for that Christmas, this was back in 2020, she got me what's called a Rodecaster. It's basically a sound mixing board. At the time, fam, it was about $500-600. Okay? So she invested into me. And since then, we've invested other things like upgraded cameras. We got lights, more mics. We've literally invested at this point thousands of dollars. And y'all, we ain't monetized. Yeah, come on, speak it over us, guys. Like, we would love for it to go in that direction. We're not there yet. But here's my point. Over 5.5 years, my wife has just believed in me and spoke life into me, even when it comes to the Army stuff. And I've told her, I said, babe, I think you're delusional and like borderline negligent for you to think that I can do what I do half the time. Like, she believes in me so much so, like, it scares me. And not only that, my wife, if it doesn't work out, you know what she doesn't do? She doesn't shame me. She doesn't put me down. Of course, like any married couple, we've had our difference in opinions, or in the words of my mom, my wife's mom, intense moments of fellowship. We have that. But you know what my wife has never done? Judy's never put me down. She's never disrespected me. If something doesn't work out, she always goes, we'll figure it out. Like, there's never been a pressure from her, like, you're not doing this. Never. It's, babe, you got it. Hey, thank you for doing this. Like, my life, guys, has been better because of the women God has placed in it. And that really leads to our wise and final takeaway for today, that our lives are greatly enriched by women. Look at how the rest of the proverb ends. What if the greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't against the world, but within yourself? In the Army, we never waited until deployment to prepare. We trained in the field, and the Army taught me 2 things, which is you train before the mission and you never train alone. We were broken down so we could be built back up. We would identify our shortcomings so we can improve them, so we were better prepared for whatever laid ahead. Following Jesus was never meant to be any different. Yet so many of us are trying to build healthier marriages, lead our families well, become better friends, maybe be a better employee or employer in the workspace, trying to lead with wisdom, and we're trying to discover who God created us to be alone. But that's not how God designed us. Before God sends you, He forms you. And He often does it through the people He places beside you. Welcome to The Field, a faith-based community where you'll grow in spiritual formation, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness. Not simply to gain more knowledge, but to become the kind of person who loves your spouse well, leads with humility, builds healthier relationships, raises stronger families, and reflects Jesus wherever God has called you. Because as God transforms you, from the inside out, every relationship around you begins to change. You don't have to figure out following Jesus alone. This isn't just another Bible study. It's a training ground, a place to be formed. So you're ready for the mission God has already prepared for you. Welcome to the field. Formation before mission. Verse 28, her children arise and bless her. Her husband also praises her. Many daughters have excelled, but you surpass them all. Verse 30, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is greatly to be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands. Let her deeds be her praise at the gates. Can I just say to the kids real quick, I don't care what your age is, if you're in junior high, high school, college, young adult, or an adult. If your mom's still around and you know that she's done well and how she just served you and loved you well, do you honor her? Do you thank her for all that she's done? And if not, do so. Husbands, if you got a woman that does everything we just talked about, praise her. Like, celebrate that woman, brag about her, because not everyone has that. Be thankful for the wife that God has placed in your life. And maybe you're thinking to yourself like, okay, well, Mark, she does some of those things, but not all of them. Okay, well, celebrate her on the things that she does do. Like, let her know what those things are. Listen, to those who maybe don't have that, maybe don't have a wife that are doing those things, here's where I want to challenge you, husbands. Do you pray for her? Do you pray for her to be those things? Let me talk to everybody now. Let me talk to the friends. Let me talk to the in-laws. Let me talk to the brother and sister. If you have anyone in your life, maybe a daughter, an in-law, a friend, whomever it is, and they're the woman that's married, and maybe they don't do those things, do you gossip about them? Do you put them down? Or do you build them up? Do you speak life into them? By the way, gossip is also a commandment behind don't murder. So we lose the right to complain about things that we're not going to speak life or contribute or pray over. How are you doing in that? Husbands, your job is to pray over your wife, to lead her, to serve her, to love her like Christ loved the church. Remember, Jesus didn't look at the church and go, I'll wait for you to get right and I'll consider getting on the cross. No, Jesus went first. What about you, husband? And wives, let me also challenge you one more time. If your husband is not leading you in the way that Christ should, remember, in the same way that God's going to hold the husbands accountable to love you like Christ loved the church, God's also going to hold you accountable to respect him. That's your job. I'm not saying, by the way, to stay in an abusive relationship. If you are, get out, get safe. Infidelity, you have to manage that and make that decision, bring that back to the Lord on how you want to move forward. What I am saying is, just as much as a man will be held responsible for his actions to love you, ladies, you will also be held responsible, women of God, wives, on how you respect him. Can we as a whole, as a church, I'm going now broad, I'm going big picture, as a church, the capital C, can we get back to also normalizing healthy, beautiful, godly, platonic relationships between men and women? My life has been forever changed by incredible women of God. Others who have served as motherly figures or aunt/older light figures in my life. I've just had so many people. I thought about going to names, but I don't want to miss anybody out or leave anybody out. And so I just love that the book of Proverbs ends the same way that it starts. Listen, remember how it started with Proverbs 1 verse 7. I know it's technically not the beginning. It was in the first chapter. You know what I'm talking about. But Proverbs 1 verse 7 says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And Proverbs 31 verse 30 says, charm is a deceptive and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be greatly praised. The book starts with fear of the Lord and it ends with fear of the Lord, specifically in the context of honoring and praising a woman who does so. How incredible, how intentional, and how beautiful is our God to end such a practical, life-giving book with an emphasis on the gift of women. And that's our final wise takeaway. Wise people recognize that our lives are greatly enriched by women. Wow, guys, this is it. I really, really hope you enjoyed this. I would love to just see and hear comments and wins. So please post in the comments. Tag me, man, at Mark A. Benton 2, at Instagram as well, or on Facebook, wherever it is you guys do socials. But I would love to just hear how this was for you. And just thank you so much for journeying with me. Thank you guys for your patience and your grace. This was an experience for me, but I love you guys. Let's stay in touch. And I guess I'll see you around on the pod. Love you guys. Peace out.
Wait, before you hop off, just a couple things. Number one, thank you so much for joining. If this has been a blessing to you, I would ask that you would consider giving a one-time donation. I left a link in the description below. We would love to grow and do more content for you guys like this. Number two, please, please, please join me in the field. I want to see you there and be the best version of yourself in Jesus Christ. So let's learn and grow together. And if neither one of those work for you, I just want to thank you for the gift of your time of these last 31 days and keep showing up here on the pod. But let's keep learning and growing together, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.